is the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What's going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We got two games here. Game 5, Cleveland-Boston. Game 5, Dallas-OKC here in the Eastern and Western Conference. Boston's up 3-1. Got a tied series 2-2, OKC and Dallas. James, my buddy, how we doing, man?
Doing good, John. If series aren't extended, this might be the last show of the year. Because Thursday we have one game, and then depending on what happens for Boston, Cleveland, the only game we'd have Friday is OKC Dallas. That's guaranteed because that is 2-2. So unless Cleveland goes into Boston potentially without Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen again, and wins for a second time in Boston, then it looks like the road may stop here, but we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the series shake out, and if I'm pretty sure, because I don't think once we get into conference finals, the NBA is going to be like, hey guys, we're going to load up both games on both days. And then I'm pretty sure it's like 1-1.
Usually, it's 1-1.
Like Sunday, if there's game 7s, could be really fun. If 3 series go to game 7, Minnesota, Denver, Cleveland, Boston, Indiana, New York, there'd be a 3-game Sunday slate. But I think we're pretty much our days here are numbered. So salute to everyone that has tuned in all year long and rocked with us from day 1 of the regular season until now, which, you and I both were not so sure we were going to do the pod into the playoffs, and then we continued it. And obviously we continued it because of the support that everyone has continuously shown, whether it's just the views, people stopping in, showing love in the comments section, showing love, subscribing to the channel. It's been amazing. So you guys are the reason we've continued this podcast. Now we've got to talk basketball, and that's been fun, obviously. And
of course,
but we would just be messaging back and forth as opposed to doing the podcast if you guys didn't keep checking in with us. So big salute to everyone. We both, John and I, wear our hats proudly, and John one-ups me because he has a cool background of Fantasy Alarm, and mine's just a couch that has a lot of dog hair on it. But we do appreciate everyone tuning in, day out, Monday through Friday for the entire season for 2 full rounds. So just wanted to say that before we get into the breakdown.
Yeah, 100%. October will be here before you know it.
Right.
And then we'll be back. Of course, you can also catch us, catch me, MLB DFS shows. So I don't go anywhere. Grande will probably be appearing on those as well at some point. If you want to toss a like down, find a free way to support the show. Easy way to do that there. Just hit that thumbs up button. And of course, if you haven't already subscribed, never too late to subscribe to the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. We do a lot more here than just NBA content, MLB, and NFL. Of course, plenty of shows there to get you guys going. Let's just jump into the slate. You mentioned we got 2 games. We got Cleveland, Boston, Dallas, OKC. We'll kick it off with Cleveland and Boston. On the Cleveland side of things here, I texted you the other day. I was like, it's 6
I know.
and we haven't got to let them know tweet quite yet. And sure enough, Donovan Mitchell ends up being ruled out of that game. Cleveland's season quickly coming to an end here in Boston, most likely.
Or is it when you see LeBron James sitting courtside at a Cleveland Cavaliers game last night, which is...
Can he sign? Has he opted out?
Hasn't opted out yet, but very interesting. Him and his wife just taking a night in Cleveland, huh? That was interesting. I know he's from obviously Akron, but interesting nonetheless. Obviously the news of Donovan Mitchell being in or out is the biggest piece of we need. If he doesn't play, Cleveland's has a lot of good basketball players. Good being the operative word, right? Like Darius Garland hasn't taken the leap. I think a lot of people thought he would. Evan Mobley hasn't yet taken the leap offensively that I think people have expected. Max Strus wasn't as good at spacing the floor this year as he's been in Miami in the last couple of years. And Karis LeVert is now injured, and he left the game a little bit. Also, I don't know if you saw that late bucket for any Celtic 8.5 bettors in that game.
Yeah.
Made a pointless floater at the end of the game there to cover the spread for Cleveland. Everything falls on Donovan Mitchell. What did we see without Donovan Mitchell? I think is like the primary question though.
Right.
The calf strain is obviously a concern, right? We've seen multiple people with calf strains this postseason not return, and just in general, calf strains are
Giannis, Porzingis, two obviously notable names there, right? Like
we were. I mean, I picked Milwaukee in 7, thinking, well, we were told Giannis is probably going to be back during the series. That game went 6.
Yeah,
or that series went 6 games, and Giannis didn't return.
He was not close coming back.
Didn't even come close. So, what did we see? Garland 40 minutes, Strus 40 minutes, and he fouled out. Evan Mobley 40 minutes. We saw Isaac Okoro start, and we saw Karis LeVert 38 minutes. But if you remember, Karis LeVert left that game with the injury that he's listed questionable for. So probably also would have been over 40 minutes, sat a large portion of the second quarter. It's going to be a lot of that again. I'd assume Karis LeVert plays, considering he came back and played that entire second half. He was great. His price tag is great. He's probably per dollar. He was like 80%. He's going to be that. And
I'm surprised they didn't bump him up, kind of given everything.
Yes, but we've also seen, I think, pretty soft pricing on
sure
playoff slates to begin with. But Karis LeVert, lock and load. I think once again, you can, if Donovan Mitchell's out, you can play 4 of them: Mobley, Garland, Strus, LeVert. I think they're all in play. I think the bench minutes were interesting. They came out and said Dean Wade was on a limit of 17 to 19 minutes, and then Dean Wade played 25 minutes. The final 8 of them he spent on the floor. He wasn't great, but just the fact that he did play 3 more minutes than Isaac Okoro, who started, obviously with the season on the line, you'd have to assume Dean Wade could be extended even more. And then Sam Merrill was the other option that really came off the bench. He played 17 minutes. He scored 7 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. He took 7 threes, right? Like, he's going to come in, he's going to chuck. And if he makes 4 of 7 in that, I mean, you're looking at a guy who had 20 fantasy points, and then maybe he's extended a little bit more. So $3,200 if Mitchell and Allen are out again, I'm perfectly fine. I'm all but like assuming Allen is out, and I'm probably 60-40 that Mitchell's not going to play with the calf strain. So that it looks like just basically fire up the same amount of people. Because, like, again, I know, like, in theory, Boston should blow them out, right? At home, game 5, Cleveland dejected after, like, being competitive, really competitive for all of game 4 and just getting beat by Jason Tatum again, because Tatum was the best player on the floor once again. But, like, I'm good getting to Cleveland because we've seen in games that, like, Boston should have handled business, right? And we said this all year long. Like, Boston is the best team in the NBA, but they are also susceptible to, like, keeping teams in games that shouldn't be in games. And,
I feel like that was game 2, because if you remember game 5 of last series, they won by 30.
Yeah, won by 30.
You know, and the bench guys all got run. I could see that coming.
Sure. At home.
It's frustrating that both game 2s they allowed Miami and Cleveland to steal one there. But I expect the hammer to be laid in this one, especially if Allen and Mitchell are out again. Just switching to Boston here. Tatum at $9,700 after sort of being criticized, I guess, for like his lack of scoring production. Back-to-back games with 33 actual double-doubles. He's fine. You know?
Looks good. Looks pretty good. He's not even making threes. Not for a team who shoots more threes than anyone.
Right.
Not making threes, 33 points in back-to-back games. What if he has one of those, like, he's doing that thing from behind the arc game.
Right. He's got 40.
Yeah, he's getting 40. We're good.
Again, Jaylen Brown right there with him. You want to play him, 28 and 27 the last 2 games for him there. Derek White the last couple of games, though, kind of, I don't know, struggling, taking a step back. Like they're defending him. Yeah, I said they're just like Yeah, you're right. I was going to say you've seen Drew Holiday instead, like take advantage of his matchups over Derek White. Maybe defensively, Cleveland's like, we can't let Derek White do what he did to Miami, and now that's opening up for Drew Holiday here.
It's funny, like Drew Holiday had his best shooting season of his career, and 43% from three. He's now made 7 threes in the last 2 games because he's just getting open looks because they're like, well, there's 3 other guys we have to guard. Like if we lose to Drew, then I mean, so be it. And Drew's beating them. So yeah, I mean, he's going to be super popular because again, it's like the same thing that you said about Karis LeVert. I'm kind of surprised that Drew Holiday's still under 6K, just given how good he's been.
Agreed. How are you handling the rest of the Celtics rotation?
Horford looks bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's like, I guess some merit to getting there because he's not like 0 for 10 from 3 bad like he's been the last 2 games. But he's just not shooting the ball particularly well this postseason. So, it's not my favorite play at 53. Peyton Pritchard, I said it the other day. Dude, he played 26 minutes in a competitive game. That just goes to show you Joe Mazzulla, his circle is getting even lower. I mean, Derek White obviously only played the 30 minutes. There was a little ankle turn where he like started walking to the locker room and then immediately turned back and came to the bench. I don't know if he like was just like, they need me, so screw it. I'm not going. But obviously the Pritchard, him struggling and Pritchard being so good, had a couple offensive rebounds in that game. Like that led Pritchard to 26 minutes. No garbage time. I mean, 23 seconds of garbage time. So it's not even, and he was on the floor just to make free throws, right, over Horford. So it wasn't even garbage time. So Pritchard would probably be the only guy off the bench. Like, I guess Cornette played another 20 minutes, but dude, it's like the last time we bought into Cornette, he played Tillman checked in game 2 or game 3.
Yeah.
Tillman hasn't played either of the last 2 or 2. Tillman didn't play game 3, game 4. But I know that Missoula's been peppered with Xavier Tillman questions at the podium. I wonder if they do eventually go to Tillman. But Cornette played 19 minutes again in game 4. So if that's going to be 19 minutes, 3,600. So it's basically Pritchard. Pritchard is definitely an interesting play, and Cornette 3,600 is interesting as
well. Dallas OKC. Here we have obviously Luka 11-1. You've kind of been on it. He's had some not so great performances in this series. The Dorkshire Chamber, locking them up potentially at times. Kyrie's 82, and then you kind of go into their secondary plays here. Last time you and I did a show, we were on the tail end of the back-to-back PJ Washington games. Make that 3 in a row now for PJ Washington. Just continues to be a monster for them when they need that help.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it funny on a team with Luka and Kyrie? The most likely DFS play, like if I were to ask you the question, who's the first person you'd plug from Dallas into your DFS lineups? I think we'd both if we said 1, 2, 3, we'd both probably say PJ Washington. So, yeah, I mean OKC started Giddey again, and they guarded PJ Washington with SGA, and he made 5 threes again because he's standing in the corner and. A position, by the way, they were talking about it. I was listening to a podcast, and PJ Washington did not shoot the ball well from the corners during the regular season. And suddenly he's just making every corner 3 in the postseason. It's just there's just no like case to not playing him at this point. At 6,300, he's going to be really popular. He has 20 points plus in 3 straight games. He has 2 double-doubles in the last 3. So you just plug PJ Washington like. There's obviously
still only $6,300.
Yeah, and he's still only 63. Like, obviously, if you want to get to Luka or Kyrie, I do think Kyrie has been a little disappointing. He is working incredibly hard defensively. Like, salute to Kyrie Irving for this, whatever he's doing defensively. He's been great, but obviously it's exerting a lot of energy, and he's not shooting a lot. I mean, he had 17 shots in game 3, and they needed it, but they also needed him to shoot more in game 4, and he took 11 shots. Dude, Luka has 4 injuries. Like Kyrie needs to be more aggressive. And obviously 11-1 for Luka in a game where he's 6 for 20. He had 56 fantasy points. Like if you want to play Luka, you can. They just don't look great. Gafford and Lively basically split minutes. Gafford was really good to start the game. Lively was really good the rest of the time. So if you want to get to either of them, I think Lively is going to be really popular again at 4,200. Just considering he is significantly cheaper than Gafford, $1,200, and he did play a few more minutes than Gafford. He ended up playing 2 more minutes in the split. And Derrick Jones Jr. was great the other night. I don't love that he only played 27 minutes. Finally, the game he makes all his shots, he plays no minutes. I'm a little confused by that, but they did elect to go with Tim Hardaway a lot of the fourth quarter. So, Derrick Jones is fine, but 27 minutes is like he sat out. Looking at the game script here, didn't really play in the second quarter, didn't play a lot of the third quarter, and obviously he's having trouble guarding SGA. So if you want to get to Derrick Jones, you can. But we saw it. We were playing Derrick Jones because there's a chance for 36 minutes,
right?
Not 27, because you got lucky if you played Derrick Jones and you got 4 blocks and him going 7 for 12. How many times this year has that happened in 27 minutes? It's not very frequently. So in that scenario, I'd rather play Tim Hardaway $3,500 because he's been super impactful in the last 3 games. And honestly, this series just feels like if this is the minutes that we're gonna get from Tim Hardaway, then I'm interested. I don't love the 4 shots after 9 and 10 the games prior, but I do love the 23 minutes for a guy at 3,500. So
yeah.
I think of like the starting 5, it's PJ at the top, Luka, sprinkles of Luka, Kyrie, and then Lively and Hardaway probably off the bench for GPPs.
Okay, Seaside, you said the other day you think SGA has been the best player, maybe consistently in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Continues to perform there. 34 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. The block numbers pretty ridiculous for a guard. Had 5 blocks, obviously, in game 4. 2 in every other game this series. I mean, 10-1, you're saving $1,000 off him on Luka.
Yeah, I mean, finally over 10,000. So thank you, I guess, to DraftKings for that. I am done until they bench Josh Giddey messing with anything other than their starters. Here, I'm not messing with anything else. SGA 10-1. Dallas has no answer for him, and we're getting monster games in every facet. So SGA, first plug again, no doubt. Jalen Williams, 40 minutes, was not good shooting the basketball, 5 for 19. And this is what I was talking about with the Kyrie Irving defense thing. Jalen, dude, 5 for 19 for J-Dub. But 41 minutes, 19 shots, peripheral stats were great. So Jalen Williams, 76. I love it. Position eligibility is elite. Chet Holmgren, 39 minutes. Dude, it is almost impossible for me not to just want to plug their big 3 just given the minutes because this just wasn't the case during the regular season. And although Daigneault is still playing a lot of guys, it's not cutting into these 3, right? It's not cutting into those 3, and it's not cutting into Lou Dort either. Lou Dort played 40 minutes. He took 14 shots. For the 4th straight game, Lou Dort had 5+ fouls because Lou Dort has been perpetually in foul trouble, and it's going to happen, right? It's Luka, it's Kyrie, dude. Yeah. For 40 minutes, you're guarding one of the best players in the world, right? Like you're super aggressive. But in 2 of the 4 games this series, Lou Dort has 23+ fantasy points at a sub 5K price tag. So I would play the top 4. And the only way I'm dipping my toes into really anything else is if we finally get the Giddey not starting game. They did bench him for the second half, and they started Isaiah Joe in the second half. But Isaiah Joe was a 0. He did nothing in that game. They dusted off Kendrick Williams in this game for 8 minutes. Like there's nothing.
To play Gordon Hayward.
The 0 minutes. Yeah, he's dead. So for me, it's literally their 4 starters. And if Josh Giddey does not start the game, then I am willing to play whoever starts. But like even in that scenario, like Cason Wallace played so good, not from a DFS standpoint, played so good in that game down the stretch that I think there's a case for him to start because why not? That's what led you. Like his defense spark plugged the entire 4th quarter, and then SGA just did what he did, and J-Dub had like 8 of his 14 in the fourth. So this would be the game. But I've said that 3 straight games, and Josh Giddey continues to start. So it's the top 4 for me. And then if we get a scenario where Dagnall, gets out of his steps back and is like, all right, I can't start this guy anymore, then I'd consider it. But right now it's just the SGA, Williams, Holmgren, Dort quad play that I would do.
All right, let's get a lineup build then. What's your number 1 plug?
SGA. SGA Chet. Let's do this. And there's going to be that's going to probably compromise the Tatum lineup, which kind of sucks because I would like to get Tatum, but I feel like it's SGA, Chet, LeVert, PJ Washington. I feel like are the 4 gotta play kind of.
Okay. 5,300 a play.
Strus, Dort, both those options. Lively if you want, or Tim Hardaway is probably a good Hardaway.
Hardaway gets you the value. Him or Pritchard? Would you have to pick one?
THJ, but close. Okay.
6,250 forward and a util.
If you plug Jalen in that spot, what would
Brown or Williams?
Brown.
4,600 would give
probably
you
Lively.
Eric Jones, Lively, or Pritchard.
Probably Lively.
Okay.
Probably Lively.
Example lineup for everybody: SGA, LeVert, Strus, Washington, Holmgren, Hardaway Jr., Jaylen Brown, Derek Lively. $400 left over. Again, if this is indeed our last show of the season, we appreciate you all tuning in. You can help us out one last time by hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button to help support everything that we do. If you're not yet a member of the Fantasy Alarm family, I don't know what you're waiting for on that either. You can get us in the Discord. We're always in there to talk some ball with you guys. Go to fantasyalarm.com/win. You can use promo code Let's Go. Save some money on your first month there, or you want to go annual, get 40% off the monthly cost. So again, fantasyalarm.com/win, promo code Let's Go at checkout. Grande, it's been fun. Good luck with your Lions. Enjoy the rest of the playoffs, everybody. We'll catch you later.